By way of introduction, this is a speech on the lottery, specifically in the United States. Essentially, why the fact that the lottery is a big thing in the United States, why that is the case, and perhaps some nasty things related to the lottery that may be going on. There are, I think, few figures here, and there's one slogan that you may want to think of ahead of time, which is game-changing, life-changing fun. That's a slogan for a lottery. Okay, well, I'm going to start. Ladies and gentlemen, do you ever buy lottery tickets? Is that something you do? Personally, not at all. I never have, actually. Nor have I ever gambled. This mainly is because I'm following my grandfather's advice. My grandfather, who probably was the most economically successful person in my family. Never gamble. Never buy lottery tickets. So I wouldn't really know how it goes, how it works, but perhaps you can tell me at the end of the speech. But today I'm going to talk to you about the state of lottery in the United States of America, the purpose that it has, or may have. First of all, I want to tell you that lottery is a very big thing in the United States. And last week, the headlines were made by a person winning $371 billion in one single jackpot. And in the USA, 44 states run their own lotteries. And they're constantly running adverts for this to get more and more people to take part. They spend $500 million a year just in advertising. And you see all sorts of adverts. You see people shout in ping pong balls that I think are supposed to represent those balls in which the numbers appear. You have a really odd one I saw with someone dressed as a cat rolling a huge ball of money around. And another interesting one of a lottery winner taking a penguin for a hang glider ride. So actually taking him flying, deciding I've got enough money now, I get to decide which birds fly and which don't. Okay, so those are ads to make you want to play. So, but why is it that states spend so much on advertising for the lottery? Well, it's a massive source of income for these states. In 2013 alone, those lotteries generated $68 billion of income. That's more than the USA, that the public spends on film, on music, on football, American football matches, on baseball, on video games, and pornography, all put together. That's ridiculous. So, at the end of the day, this is a form of gambling, isn't it? So why isn't it perceived as wrong that the state should encourage this sort of thing? Well, because it's being marketed as a charitable action. These lotteries are essentially being presented as charitable foundations. And I originally thought that it should strike Americans as odd that the state should actually run what, again, effectively amounts to a gambling business. I mean, I know in France, for instance, if I'm not mistaken, casinos are banned from Paris. So, it's just not the sort of thing state usually associates with. But, like I said, they're marketed in such a way that you think of them as a charitable foundation. So you have the Tennessee Lottery that has a slogan, which is game-changing, life-changing fun. And in their ad, they tell you that they have raised $3 billion for education, without specifying over which period of time that is, over how long. The Oregon Lottery has as a motto, "It does good things." and they tell you that they have raised $5 billion for education since 1995. And the New York Lottery's motto is "Everybody wins," which implies that children in education win as well, because that's who they send some of their proceeds to. So at the end of the day, you get the impression that these lotteries are essentially charities. Is that really the case? Well, let's just look at the data. So these lotteries generate $68 billion worth of income. Now, where does it come from? Studies have been carried out that demonstrate that it's actually lower income households that spend the greatest proportion of their money on lottery tickets. And this is research that's been carried out over the past 2 decades. Generally, the idea is that these lotteries are selling people hope. That's what they want you to believe anyway. Some adverts actually like adverts for mutual funds, just insurance generally. So you have one advert saying, maybe we could, get money for a college fund for our children. College as in university. But there is a crucial difference here. The lottery isn't an investment. It's terribly unlikely that you will ever get any money out of it. Actually, the odds are 1 in 176 million. Like one observer said, that's as likely as you getting struck by lightning at the same time as you're being eaten alive by a shark. Which, by the way, sounds like an interesting pitch for a Hollywood film. Okay, so there are smaller lottery games and smaller prizes that have slightly better odds, but still, the payout for lotteries pay out a smaller percentage of their income than horse racing does, for instance. But lottery is specifically the type of gambling that the poorest parts of the population take part in. However, what all these adverts are telling us really are to just ignore the odds and power your dreams. That's literally what they say, power your dreams, go for your dream. $2 can power your dream. But what we shouldn't forget, and this is the worst part really, even when you win, it doesn't really make your life any better. I mean, there are loads of cases known, and this has made the headlines more than once, of people blowing their winnings in record amounts of time. Or there's even a headline I saw about a man hiring a hitman to kill his brother who had won 16 million in a lottery. It makes people crazy. Essentially, in a lot of cases, it ruins their lives. In Israel, apparently, lottery winners are photographed with a mask over their head. And there's even one case in the 90s of a 24-year-old Palestinian who came with a bag over his head to collect his winnings. So how bad is that? It's supposed to be a great day, you're supposed to have won, but you actually have to protect your identity to prevent bad things from happening to you. So, given all this, why is it that people play? Well, you have some who just can't stop. For them, it's an addiction. And the state knows this. They're fully aware. They've got programs set up to help these people. But at the same time, you get states in the USA that are actively expanding into ever more addictive products. So in Oregon, 86% of income that comes from lottery actually comes from video slot machines and video poker. That's hardly a lottery at all. And research has been carried out that shows that, on average, a lottery player in Oregon loses $106 a year, whereas those who play the latter type of games that I've mentioned, video slot machines, video poker, lose $2,564 on average. And now, to move on to another state, in Illinois, the state has actually set up a phone app that allows you to buy lottery tickets, to make it even easier for you to spend your money this way. So the question is, why do state lawmakers keep doing this? Well, they say it's all for a good cause, for education. You know, we're going to give this money we're going to use this money to build schools, to help children go to school or go to university, etc. But aren't there better ways to fund education? I mean, you could just donate money, or you could use money from taxes, which is kind of what it's meant for, isn't it? As a matter of fact, this type of lottery was illegal until 1964. And when the first one came about in New Hampshire, education was the excuse. Again, funding for education. But there's a real issue here. And the fact is, and this has been shown, that lotteries have made for no additional funding for education in 21 out of 24 states. Take an example, North Carolina. When the state lottery was set up, it was stated that this would make for an additional $5 billion for education per year. And this is true to a certain extent, but the problem with state budgets is that when you add money in one area, it's very hard to keep it in that area. Essentially, it moves around. And actually, nowadays, North Carolina spends less on education than it did when the lottery began. And why is this? Well, because of what I've just mentioned, the fact that it's very hard to keep money in one area. And to give you an even more specific example, in 2012, North Carolina used $100 million from the lottery to build schools. But that just went to fill a hole that had just been left by corporate tax cuts. So essentially, it was this lottery supposedly making more available for education, which was actually just filling a hole that had been made to make things easier for business. So really, the lottery was funding business. That's pretty much what I had to say today. Just to wrap up, I'd like to say that, well, at the end of the day, lottery is bad for losers, but it's probably bad for most winners too. And it's at best a controversial way for states to fund their budgets. And you could compare it to alcohol. Most people like it. Some people are addicted to it. And states can't and really shouldn't try to outlaw them completely. But it would strike you as strange if the state were in the liquor business and were telling you every shot of vodka goes to buy books for poor school children. Thank you for your attention today. Oops, didn't stop this one, nope.